turn things over to Lindsay, who I'm super excited is here to join us. The prior format that we used was to use the little chat feature on the bottom of your Zoom screen, which you can direct questions to any one person, either to me or to Lindsay or to everyone. And then when we get to a place to do Q&A, those questions will be iterated and then answered as best we can. So otherwise, you can stay on mute as you come in, video or not, does not matter. And then if you want your question to remain private, if you send it directly to Lindsay and the chat and the drop down, the to button, or directly to me, then it won't say who asked it. And then if it's to everybody, then everyone will be able to see that. And we'll get started in a few minutes. So excited for people to be joining us. Hello, hello. I keep hearing all the dings coming, so let's give it like maybe 1 or 2 more minutes. And then we'll get started. So just pause. Come more people. We're going to focus, the good portion of this on the way that our neurophysiology affects our immune systems. And, the recent events and experience of changes in our lives can be really anxiety provoking or inspiring, depending on where you are in your process. For those of you who are my patients who are otherwise involved in this kind of work, it's a huge component of being able to get or stay well in the face of anything chronic or even acute, because the way that our nervous systems affect how resilient our immune systems can respond is a known entity and science that we're still discovering things, all the time. I see Michelle's here too. She has some expertise in this as well. And there will be a call soon with her as well, as I've been sending some people to work with Michelle also on this stuff. And what's great about what we're going to be talking about is that there's nothing to order. There's nothing to get. There's nothing to wait for. These are practices and other, it's a framework that is accessible to any of you at any time. And I'm excited to bring Lindsay in, who's dedicated a fair amount of her educational and career path to these topics. And, let her introduce herself as well. Still some people coming in. But I'm gonna let her introduce herself as well and give just a bit about her background, and then let her go from there. And then again, if we'll get to a place where we'll have a Q&A and you can send those through the chat feature. All right. So let me figure out how to repin video, and then I'll turn it over. So Lindsay's background is in this, I'm going to butcher this, so I'll let you introduce yourself, Lindsay, maybe more so, but your background is in doctoral level studies and work on studying consciousness and positive psychology and the whole science of the mind-body connection. I don't know if that's completely accurate. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about your background. There was the blog post with Lindsay's 4 pillars of health that we posted and actually got picked up by Navita's Food, which is a local but national organic food company, and they put it on their blog as well. And I'll turn it over to you if you want to give us your background and get started.
Sure. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm happy to see so many people here. Yeah, I have a master's degree in counseling, transpersonal counseling psychology, and in between my master's and my doctorate, I worked as a research assistant for a physicist out in Hawaii, and I'm now almost done with my PhD and in cognitive neuroscience for about a little over 3 years. I was an intern at the Transformative Technology Lab down in Palo Alto, and I helped analyze a huge data set from a 17-week-long intensive meditation course that combined a variety of different techniques of meditation with positive psychology techniques. And it was it felt like a total synchronicity to stumble on this lab and on this data set, because it just felt like I was already doing all of those things. So I was really happy to find someone who was analyzing the neuroscience and psychology around it and put an academic framework to it. And so that's where I kind of pulled from my own experience and from working in that lab to create this 4 pillars, which was this framework was originally intended for people who wanted to deepen their spiritual practice and really make a transition into like a deep soul searching. But consequently, it also has a lot of health benefits. And so that's why I felt inspired to put it out there now, because I know that the state of the world is just in shock and in fight or flight right now. And I feel like this information is, when distilled down, can be really, really simple to really help a lot of people. So that's just my intention. And I just wanted to start out by just like connecting to the group and everyone here, just so we can feel each other a little bit. If everyone wants to just put a word in the chat box with how they're feeling in this moment, just to kind of just connect. Since we're all muted, just you can put your name if you feel like it. You don't have to. Just put like what you're feeling in general or just right now. Awesome, grateful. That's a good feeling. Yeah, a lot of anxiety, lethargic, delighted. Awesome. So I just wanted to also start by inviting you to just do a really brief centering exercise, or just a really simple meditation if you want to get comfortable. So we can also just tune into the energy of the group and just become really present, especially since that's part of what we're talking about today too. So if you want to just get comfortable and just drop your hands if you're holding anything onto your lap, and just sit back and close your eyes. And just take like 3 deep breaths in and out of your mouth. Just really dropping deeper into your body, shifting out of your mind and into your body. And just on every exhale, just release anything that is no longer needed in this moment. And with every inhale, just sinking deeper into relaxation and presence. And just feeling the support of the chair that you're on and the ground beneath you. Keeping your attention on your breath and just the natural rhythm of the inhale and exhale. And as you drop deeper into presence, just start to shift your attention into your heart, in your chest, and see if you can feel the beat of your heart. And then the relationship of the synchronization between the heartbeat and the breath. And we're just going to stay there for a few moments. And if you start to feel your mind wandering and thinking, just without judgment, just gently bring it back to the heartbeat and the breath. Just quieting the mind into stillness as best as you can. And then slowly shift your attention to any sensations you're feeling of your skin against your clothes, or the hair on the back of your neck. And just doing a scan of your whole body and just noticing all the sensations or sounds that you might hear. And just begin to become aware that all of the molecules in your body are sharing space with the room that you're in. And just feel your energy and your attention expand in each direction. Just gently expanding and becoming aware of the space around you. And your heartbeat and your breath. And that we are sharing this space and this moment with each other, through our technology, and that we're all here together as a group. And just slowly and gently just start to open your eyes and wiggle your toes. And just notice anything around you that's pleasant. And each other. Hi, everyone. And if you want to just add another word for how you're feeling now in the chat box. If you feel like it, you don't have to. Awesome. Okay. So I'm just going to go over this little blog that Stephanie and I put out that started out as a Facebook post that I made on the 4 pillars of well-being. And I'm just going to touch a little bit as an introduction. As I said, this framework stemmed from an intention for people to deepen their spiritual practice, but it doesn't have to be used in that way. It can just be used to increase your well-being, your general health, or whatever. But I just wanted to put out there that there is the academic term that we were using in my research is non-symbolic experience. And so the intention is to use this framework to reach a non-symbolic experience, either persistent or temporary. And it's when you reach a place where your story of your life and the collective story and the collective narrative just kind of starts to quiet down in your mind, and you can transcend or reach a place beyond the story. And there's actually a lot of research on experiences of non-symbolic experience or mystical or spiritual experience where it does increase the quality of your life. And there's a common core, there's some common core characteristics that are associated with those experiences, which is ineffability, an inability, you can't describe it. And feeling interconnectedness to all of creation or all life. It's this mystery, this sense of the mystery. And so, and as Stephanie said at the beginning, that it is also the mind body. So my friend my friend Deepak Chopra, he predicts that the mind-body connection is actually going to become one word. Currently in academics, mind-body is hyphenated, and so he's predicting that word is going to become one word, because ultimately fundamental to all of our physiology is consciousness. And so I'm sure Stephanie can talk more about the mind-body connection and how it relates to the immune system. So back to the pillars, the 4 pillars of well-being, which are intended to be like a table where you lose one, you don't have one pillar and the whole table weakens, right? So they're all interrelated. And so the first pillar is really just returning to the basics, which when anyone comes to me in my practice, or any of my friends or family members, when they're in a state of stress or anxiety or depression, I'm like, okay, are you sleeping? Are you getting good sleep? Are you drinking enough water? There's a lot of research with PTSD and veterans that really they just need good sleep and water. And if they're not drinking enough water and not getting enough sleep, no other intervention will help them. And good quality water too. And I'm sure Stephanie's going over all of this with you guys. Good nutrition, connection to others, staying connected, especially right now, is really important as we're all stuck at home. Time in nature, if you can, is really key. Getting the natural vitamin D from the sun is key. So those are just the basics, the foundation. And if you're in a state of panic like the whole world really is right now, it's really just go back to the basics. Focus on the basics. If you can't do anything else, just eat good food, get good sleep, drink good water, pray, go out in nature, basic, like just do that, and it can make a world of a difference. So that's one. And if you're able to create that foundation with the basics, then go to the second pillar, which is a daily practice. And a daily practice, don't get overwhelmed, because it can be super, super simple. And it's every morning when you wake up, the moment that you wake up and the moment that you go to sleep, like after you turn the lights out and you've kind of gone through, you know, whatever process you need to be comfortable and relaxed on your bed, right before you go to sleep, it's a good time to create a daily practice. And I'm going to give you some examples of what you could do for your daily practice in the morning and evening, but really be creative. Like trust your creativity and trust your intuition, and whatever culture or background that you come from, you might get ideas. But these are the examples that I'm going to give you are really standard, like gold standard positive psychology techniques. And before I get into them, I just want to say the reason why these work is because there's something in the brain called the negativity bias. And the negativity bias in the brain is why we are designed by nature to worry. We are wired to worry. We are designed by nature to absorb negativity at a faster rate, because that's how evolution designed us to survive, right? And so if you notice, when you think back on your day, the immediate things that you're going to think about that stand out the most are like when the guy cut you off on the freeway and you got upset and you're like, oh my God, that jerk totally cut me off. What an idiot, you know? So that's what stands out the most. But then there were all these beautiful moments of like this tree and the light that was hitting this leaf. And like, you don't think about those things because you weren't biologically designed to. And so these positive psychology exercises in the form of a daily practice every morning and every evening are to pull you out of those negative neural pathways, and no matter how deep they are. And if you're in a downward spiral of depression and anxiety, it'll help. Or even if you're if you're feeling healthy and good mentally, it can also just take that happiness set point to another level. And then if your goals are even higher, to deepen your spiritual practice, then it can do that too. And so some examples are, this one is my favorite, to just set an intention or say a wish or make a prayer for those in your close circle, your family, your friends, everyone that you're connected to, and then for all people and all beings and all life to be free from suffering, or any desire or prayer that you wish. I like to use free from suffering because it's kind of covers everything. So that's one, and that's just like a really beautiful way to just like come into your heart and to like have compassion. And then the other one is gratitude, and that there's so much research on like the power of gratitude. We've all heard about it. But the way that I like to advise it to people is to think about the concept of hedonic habituation in the brain. And hedonic habituation is when we start to take things for granted. And so when you, in your daily practice, if you want to bring in gratitude, just make a quick list of like 3 things that you're grateful for that you wouldn't normally ever be grateful for. Like toilet paper, which we're all really grateful for right now. Or just having a backyard, or your car, just like random things that you don't normally have gratitude for, and that can help snap you out of the conditioning of hedonic habituation. And there's so much research on this. It's kind of like the example of winning the lottery. Like everyone says, like, oh, if I just had $1 million, or if I just won the lottery, I'll be happy, you know. But all of the research shows that, like, as soon as you get married, which is like the thing that you wanted the most, and you think you finally achieved it, or you finally won the lottery, and then you're happy for like a couple weeks, and then you tank back to your original baseline. And so focusing on gratitude and this concept of hedonic habituation, and not taking things for granted, is the most empirically successful way to sustainably increase that happiness set point. It's about reconditioning yourself. Then forgiveness is another one. There's tons of research at Stanford, coming out of Stanford on forgiveness, and all over, really. Just list like 3 people or situations or whatever comes up to forgive, and just invoke the sensation and feelings and emotions of what forgiveness means to you, and love. And if it's a person, just sending them love. If it's a situation that you're regretting, just try to let it go, and just take a quick moment every day and every morning. What are 3 things that I need to forgive? And include yourself too. And if you need help to think about that, I have this thing that I call the 3 R's: regret, resentment, and rejection. And so if there's anyone in your life that you resent or have grudges with, put those on your list for your daily practice. Rejection. And did anyone reject you in your past that you're holding on to it? Just take a moment every day and let that go. So resentment, rejection, regret. What do you regret? What situations do you regret? Just take a moment to forgive yourself and let that go too. And it can be quick. You can spend as much time as you have or desire, but letting go of the 3 R's and going through a list of all of the people that you have resentment, grudges, rejections, regrets, can make a huge impact on your general well-being. Goals. We're all in quarantine right now. Maybe set a goal for your quarantine, or 3 goals for your quarantine, and make them realistic and turn them into statements, like positive affirmation statements, as if you've already accomplished them, and just state those 3 goal statements as positive affirmations every morning and every night, right when you wake up and right when you go to sleep. Yeah, another exercise to do that I've done on and off is like kind of looking back on your day backwards, like hitting the rewind button, and just visualizing like how your whole day went backwards. And if there was any moment of dissonance or tension, you know, just breathe into it, let it go, like whatever, offer some loving kindness, energy, whatever, and go through the whole day. And then in the morning when you wake up, the way to do that is to just imagine your goals, think about your goals, and like the most ideal way that your day could go, and visualize your whole day. And then the sensation and the emotion that comes at the end of the day when you had this like epic day. Like, how are you going to feel if you had the most epic day ever? And imagine yourself at the end of the day like being like, yes, like it was so good, best day ever. And again, these might sound complicated, but they can be really short and simple, short and sweet and simple. And you can, what I do is I recommend people to get a little 3x5 note card and just hit the bullet points. And so right before you go to sleep, you can just glance over at the bullet points, and eventually you won't need it because you're going to be doing it every day, which is really key, is the discipline to do it every day to really build really strong new neural pathways of positivity. And to keep in mind that that discipline is really important, because as you build these new neural networks of positivity, the old neural networks start to atrophy. And it's like building these pathways that are going upstream to a highway of information that is so deeply embedded in our biology and in our genetics. So really, like, that negativity bias in the brain is a huge piece to remember, because it takes extra effort to snap out of it. It takes extra effort. And so you have to be disciplined. And I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by that discipline, because it can be really simple as long as it's every day. Like, just choose one thing to do every day and then build on that from there, you know?
I think that I was just going to say that's great advice, is the reminder that it literally can take 30 seconds, but
Yeah.
that the consistency is what builds the pathway, right? And that is key. I know some of you who've done other programs where it's like, you have to do this for an hour. It's not true. So that's great. Thank you, Lindsay. Keep going. This is amazing.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and I'm going to take questions at the end. I'm trying to make this really simple so that, because I'd love to hear more from you guys. So pillar 3 is meditation, and the key with the daily practice is to combine it with moments of stillness as best as you can. Again, it can be simple, you know, but it's that combination of those two things is like the golden nugget. And so meditation, there's so much to say about it, but the basic, if you've never meditated before, the basic concept is the difference between the task network in the brain and the default network. And so the default network, you might have heard that term, like default mode. It's like our ego or our day-to-day mentality or attitude. It's that narrative mind that I talked about at the beginning. It's the narrative mind that's always on. And so when you go to meditate, you just close your eyes and center yourself in stillness in whatever way you want to. It doesn't have to be technical, you know? And then there's going to be a back and forth. And again, it's that highway of information that's so embedded in us, which is the default mode. And then having to push it into stillness is like going upstream, especially if you're just getting started. And so it's a back and forth between mind wandering and stillness. And a good way to access stillness is to just focus on one thing. Just focus on your heartbeat, focus on your breath, focus on, visualize, like some people like to visualize like sunlight coming into their body, like whatever you want, like be creative. It doesn't have to be, there's gold standard methods of meditation that you can look into. There's insight meditation, Vipassana, which is a body scan. There's noting, which is where you just notice. I did a little bit of that at the beginning in the meditation, where you just notice any sounds, you just notice what arises and what falls in your awareness, like you just note it with no judgment. So that's another one that's pretty huge. There's direct inquiry, Soto Zen, mantra, prayer. I mean, there's a lot of different types of meditation, but really it's just about stillness. It's having a moment of stillness, whether it's 30 seconds or 10 minutes or an hour. It's up to you. And there's tons of, I'm actually working on a blog right now on free resources right now and free meditation apps. If you're interested, I'll send that to Stephanie when it's ready to share with you guys. But I have this in my notes here. So the leading scholars of meditation neuroscience research, just to put it out there, the definition of meditation is self-regulation practices that focus on training attention and awareness in order to bring mental processes under greater voluntary control, and thereby foster general psychological well-being and development and or specific capacities such as calm, clarity, and concentration. So when you're meditating, you're activating the task network in the brain. You're just focusing. And so there's the task network and the default network, and it's about focusing on the task network and bringing that to the forefront of your awareness. So there's tons, I mean, meditation is huge. It's this multi-billion-dollar industry with tons of research going into it. And it's just, I have some notes on like the benefits. There's so many, like decrease in stress, depression, and anxiety. There's huge psychological benefits, lowers cholesterol levels, more efficient use of oxygen in the body, increased production of anti-aging hormone, DHEA, restful sleep, which is huge. Yeah, and then there's also really interesting neuroscience showing actual brain growth, like regenerative brain growth in the actual tissue of the brain and the corpus callosum and the what the thing that connects the two hemispheres of the brain, that actually increases, and the connectivity between the two hemispheres increases. And then just areas in the brain get activated that are associated with memory, empathy, sense of self, and stress regulation. And then there's a huge study that was pretty groundbreaking, showed that HIV positive patients who meditated slowed the decline in their immune cell count. So it works. And it doesn't have to be complicated or overwhelming. It's just a moment of silence on a regular basis. And what it does is it helps you self-regulate your nervous system. You become more self-aware, and it can just help you just become more aware of, like, when you're like falling into anxiety or falling into a trigger or getting angry at someone, you just become more aware to have that more voluntary control of just how you react to life in general. And did you want to say something, Stephanie?
I was just going to say, it's the global hijacking of this part of our brain, which we're designed to pay attention to, right? For survival, as you said. And it doesn't have to, right? So I know people are in different phases of how they're responding to this, right? There's the fear phase and the anxiety phase. And then there's the, a little bit like I'm straddling the phase of acquiring information and learning, and also feeling at peace with what's to be, right? And it's just this is just awesome to like hear how it's broken, how these layers are broken down, and how we can integrate such simple things. Because I certainly even forget, even though I have a meditation practice that happens most nights, but my mornings could use some work. So
yeah, I think everyone right now, I mean, we're all forgetting the days of the week, like people are losing the sense of routine. And so to create a discipline around a simple routine can be really useful right now in this state of overwhelm that we're all in, like you said, Stephanie, of this overwhelm of information consumption, and having to navigate sense making between misinformation, disinformation, and what's real and true. And then how it lands in us, and how it relates to our family and our life, and so it's so intense right now. And taking those moments of silence, whether it's twice a day or as often as you can, or you just once a day, can really just help things just settle. It's like the metaphor of like a snow globe. Like, the snow globe is being shaken up, and just to like take a moment to let everything fall into place, so that you can like do good sense making and then good decision making, especially right now.
I've been talking to patients, of course, like throughout all this, because their schedule is crazy. And one of the things I keep telling everybody is, you don't have to figure it all out right now. Right? All the homeschooling stuff, I've been telling people to throw the stuff out the window. Like, don't show up one day, forget it, right? Everything's in flux and changing. If it's not if the structure is not working for you, like, just, take yourself out of it. It doesn't, right? There is no one right way. And you can, regroup later and come back to whatever it is, but you won't miss anything if you allow yourself to unplug.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it is the time this concept of like, you can't go out, so go in. This is like kind of like, or the concept of like, we're in a timeout right now, right? Like, so like, this is the moment to, at least my interpretation for me is like, this is a great time to just build that resiliency and build that self-regulation capacity to not only regulate your nervous system and be free from anxiety, but to also like enhance that baseline, that happiness set point, and like be superhuman, because our world needs superhumans right now. So the fifth pillar is exercises throughout the day, or like mindfulness practices. Mindfulness, the textbook definition of mindfulness, is one's attention to experiences, paying attention to experiences occurring in the present moment without judgment. And so in my studies and in just my own personal practice, I see two kind of types of mindfulness. And one type of mindfulness is the more generic textbook style of mindfulness, which is just being present in the present moment. And it's activating that task network in the brain where you're just focusing on whatever you're doing in the present moment and trying to eliminate that mind chatter and mind wandering. And every time your mind wanders, you bring it back to the present moment. But the other option is more interesting to me, is actually engineering a desired state, and which is often, joy, peace, happiness, increasing that happiness set point. And so one way of doing that, my favorite way of doing that, is something that I had been doing for so long. And when I met Jeffrey Martin, who was my supervisor at the Transformative Technology Lab, I learned from him that there's an actual framework to teach this to people, which is called actual freedom or unprovoked happiness. And it's really simple. It's just like when you're doing something really mundane, like the dishes or folding laundry, just to invoke joy, invoke like a pure, what they call in the actual freedom framework is like a pure conscious experience. And so joy, love, innocence, laughter, like invoke that sensation, even though you're doing something really boring, like doing the dishes can actually be really relaxing, but could like you actually find joy in doing the dishes, or just like gazing out the window and noticing, just a particular area of the grass and like how beautiful it is, and like invoking joy. And when you do that intentionally as a practice, like you could challenge yourself, try it for 2 weeks or 10 days, and then see what happens, and then let it go and just see what happens. And because what could happen, and what I found in the data and in my own experience, is that it can suddenly happen spontaneously, and you can just suddenly burst into like a static joy for no reason. Like happiness doesn't have to have a reason. You don't have to have a reason to be happy. You can just invoke that happiness, and it might, just like I've said, it's that same concept of it takes extra effort. It takes extra effort to create those positive neural networks in the brain. And so it's about engineering your own conscious experience of reality in whatever way you want. And I'm giving you just some examples, but really it's about being creative too and exploring it with your own intuition. Another thing to do that's helpful to help strengthen those positive neural networks is when you catch yourself in those moments of negative thoughts, whether they're just generic negative thoughts of self-judgment or whatever, or some anxiety or stress, you can just say, you can create like a habit. And one thing that a lot of people use is like, just say it quietly to yourself: clear, cancel, delete, clear, cancel, delete, or just say no. And it might sound kind of like silly, but it strengthens the direction of those new neural networks that you're creating in combination with all of these other things. And it's also about being creative and being repetitive. We're beings of repetition, and our conditioning and our unconscious mind of that negativity bias in our brain is so deep that it takes repetition of your own making to snap out of that and to increase that baseline. And so, and sometimes saying clear, cancel, delete is not powerful enough, especially right now. I'm finding personally that, like, for example, just the other day, I had 2 shots of espresso on an empty stomach and then watched this really intense YouTube video about coronavirus. A really bad idea, bad combination. And I was just like, my heart started pounding, and I was just like, whoa. And and my 2-year-old is like screaming, and I'm just like, oh my God, like got so overwhelmed and just started like shaking and just like breathing, like just exhaling and just releasing and just like, ah. and just like shaking it and like jumping up and down a little bit and just like physically releasing it from my body, you know. And so that's just, I'm a very kinesthetic person. I'm a dancer, you know, so that's something that works for me, but it might not work for you. And you can just experiment and just find a couple things based on the intensity of the negative emotion, and then continue to work with it, with that repetition. And then sometimes, you know, sometimes I just have to cry, and that's okay. And I said that in my blog and my post, is that I don't want to endorse like what they call spiritual bypassing or any kind of psychological bypassing. Sometimes, like, the world is like a mess right now, and it's okay to grieve. It's okay to grieve the job that you lost, and it's okay to just have a moment and cry. And it's just about allowing that purge to happen and creating an end to it. There's a stop and an end, so that it doesn't drag out, and so that you can return to these practices and return to building this resilience, and so to not get stuck there. As that's all. It's okay to have those feelings, and just don't get stuck. Yeah. So that's the 4 pillars, the basics, a daily practice of positivity, morning and evening, every morning, right when you wake up and right before you go to sleep, meditation, just stillness, inner silence, and throughout the day, just learning how to self-regulate your nervous system. And this is just, this is a really amazing time to cultivate this inner silence and this resiliency and connect to a deeper peace. We all need it right now, and I'm really inspired to strengthen it in myself and to share it with more and more people. And I hope that, you know, if you guys are inspired, you'll share it with people too, and just like pay it forward, and just let that be the thing that's contagious, you know. And yeah, I just wanted to read one other thing. So the goal is sustainability, right? You don't want to just have temporary moments of of inner peace and clarity and calm. You want to have that be persistent and ongoing. And when you get to that place where you've gone beyond anxiety and stress, and you're starting to increase that happiness set point, these are what I'm calling signs and symptoms of inner peace. And so these are the goals, right? Where these 10 things are happening at a constant for you, for everyone. An unmistakable ability to enjoy each moment. A loss of interest in judging people and interpreting their actions. A tendency to think and act spontaneously rather than on fears from past experience or from fears in general. A loss of interest in conflict. A loss of ability to worry. Frequent, overwhelming episodes of appreciation. Feelings of interconnectedness with others and nature and all life. Frequent attacks of smiling and joy. And an increasing tendency to just let things happen instead of making them happen, effortlessness. And an increased susceptibility to the love extended by others, and an uncontrollable uncontrollable urge to extend it. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you all. It was longer than I expected. I wanted to keep it simple, but I'd love to hear any questions. I know that was a lot of information.
That was awesome, Lindsay. I already see a whole bunch of questions starting. Just like I can read them to you, or if you can see them in the chat. But essentially, if you can just review the tag the topics of each pillar one more time.
Okay, sure.
Like what? I know the first one was back to the basics, I think.
Yeah, back to the basics: good sleep, good nutrition, good hydration, connection to others, spending time in nature. Exercise is one thing I forgot to mention, even if it's just like 5 minutes of stretching every day, you know, just a little bit of exercise. So that's basics. Pillar 2 is a daily practice every morning and every evening. Say a wish, make a prayer, set an intention for all beings to be free from suffering, or in your own words. Gratitude, being grateful for things that you're not typically grateful for, forgiveness, just list a list of 3, just quick, simple, and invoke the emotion. Goals, what are your realistic goals for a specific timeline? Meditation, just inner silence. And again, it's that, think about the task network. So what is the task when you close your eyes? Just pick something to focus on.
That was all pillar 2?
That was meditation is pillar 3.
3, okay, good.
So basics, daily practice, meditation, and then throughout the day are mindfulness, things to do throughout the day. Like, how are you going to catch yourself? How are you going to keep yourself accountable? When you catch yourself thinking negatively about yourself or about another person, just in your own mind, clear, cancel, delete, or no. And a good, also to like take this to the next level, is to then replace it with something positive, right? A positive affirmation to remind yourself of your goals. Imagine just a waterfall of light streaming over you, whatever you want to do. But essentially, like, it's kind of like a computer system, right? You delete something and then like download something new. Delete, clear, cancel, delete, and then what are you replacing it with? Just a quick state change is the idea. Yeah, that's it. So that was mindfulness throughout the day. Yeah.
Is there one more? Is there 4? I can't remember if there's 4.
Oh, that was 5. So
That's 5.
yeah.
So back to basics, daily practice. 3 is meditation. 4 is mindfulness exercises. And then there was one more. Did I miss one?
Oh, I'm sorry. There's 4. There's 4.
Okay, good. And then the next one, question about self-regulation.
So self-regulation, that term is in regards to the nervous system, like self-regulate, like the idea of all of these exercises is to increase your own self-awareness. And that way you can regulate and have more control over your own nervous system. So it's like mind over matter, right? Your mind is more powerful than the stressors in your life. You control how you respond, right? And so these practices build your resiliency to be able to have more and more control or self-regulation of your nervous system and how you react to stress, is what I mean by self-regulation.
Okay. And then another question was, where's the blog where we can find this, what was just read? So that I think it was the 10 indications of, what was it, of peace, being at peace. The last things that you said, I had said that I would post those.
Oh.
I will repost those to Functional Medicine SF's blog and Facebook page if people want to go back to review that.
Cool.
So we'll put those back in.
Yeah, and just so you know, I'm actually, because this caught some traction, I'm actually working on a more in-depth blog on my Medium account with references to scientific research and stuff. So once I have that complete, I'll send it to Stephanie, and I'll include those too. So just so you know, more is coming. You don't have to remember all of it.
Yeah, you don't have to remember it all. And then another question was, when the negative thoughts come and we say clear, cancel, delete, or no, how is this not resistance to the negativity, which seems to breed persistence of the negativity? So like what we resist persists idea.
Yeah.
How is it not the same thing, I guess is the question.
So this is the first time that I'm sharing these practices openly, but typically I offer these exercises in a much slower, much more personalized way with my clients. And so with my clients, we're also doing deep inner work too, and so I would say as I'm sharing this openly and publicly is to, and I think I included that in my original post, is to just have a support system. If you don't have a therapist or a coach, you have family members and friends, and to just really like think about like, who is your support system? Who can you call when you're going through your forgiveness exercises and thinking about the 3 R's? That might be kind of intense, and it might bring some stuff up that you need to process. And so when I say clear, cancel, delete, you can't clear, cancel, and delete like trauma in your life from your childhood or whatever. So you need to seek extra support to process those things in whatever way that you choose and that works for you.
Got it. What is the speaker's blog? I'm not sure what this, oh yeah. So Lindsay, how to find you. I'm going to put that on here. So it's your website, lindsaybriner.com, right?
Yeah. And I have a little, like all of my social media accounts are linked to my website, and there's a Medium. I just started a Medium account not that long ago. And so I have several blogs. I have like 4 that I'm working on right now that will come out with a meditation app, one on the meditation apps, through the transformative technology group that I'm a part of. And then also a more intensive overview of these 4 pillars as well. Yeah, so and sign up for my newsletter or whatever, and I'll send them to Stephanie if you want to get them through her too. Yeah.
I mean, I think, did I write down your blog address correctly, or your website address correctly?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, good. And then the next question, I understand the need to address the negativity bias by overcompensating with positive, but at what point does extreme happiness become a sort of bypass, i.e. you're sticking your head in the sand and avoiding ignoring what's really going on in the world? Oh, great question.
Yeah, that's a really great question.
It's like the middle, where's the middle ground or the middle way?
It's the middle path. I mean, I think that's really your own exploration of sense making. And I'm a big proponent of good critical thinking skills, and to not, like, I don't want you or anyone to spiritual bypass or bypass in general. But yeah, I think that's just that's your responsibility, is to use a balance of your own sense making and critical thinking, and your own support network of your own coach or therapist or groups that you're a part of, and your communities to work through your own sense making. As this is self-care, right? It's self-care. It's not the golden pill. It's not the golden pill that you take and the whole world's all better, right? This is just, it's for resilience and self-care. It's not to ignore the world. Yeah.
And a note on resilience, it's so above, so as below, or as below, so above, it's or as within, so without. The saying is that, the resilience, this type of resilience is at the basis of cultivating resilience in physical health. Like, to me, and in everything that I said, it kind of preluding that repost when you put that blog up, was if people don't have this part of their awareness, that they're tuning into, and they're walking on this path of, wherever you are, but a path where you're also acknowledging and working on that neurophysiologic, layer. It's really, really, really an upstream battle to try to fix the physical health. And there are definitely times, if I find that the neurology or the neurophysiology is like stuck on the hijack position, that we have to do this before we can really delve into more of the physical nuts and bolts, because I want there to be real change to be effective, and our minds, and our nervous systems play a huge, imperative role in that. So this is the same thing, right? Cultivating this kind of resilience allows us to then work on the physical resilience rebuilding too.
All your supplements will work better.
Way better. In fact, some of them won't work at all, or your body will reject them, or why waste the time and the resources doing that if your nervous system is stuck in hijack mode, right? Why bother? is really what, I'm concluding after 8+ years of doing this with patients. It's like more and more and more like, okay, how do we address this piece like fully? And there's more than, as Lindsay even presented, there's so many different avenues that act on those same pathways. And if one particular piece doesn't resonate, there's another way, right? There's another access point, another process, another practice that can be cultivated. And you just need to start where you are, right?
Yeah.
The 30 seconds, one thing.
Yeah, and just in our current situation too, just hearing you talk, Stephanie, made me think about like the one characteristic of evolution is adaptability, right? And so we're at a turning point in our civilization and our society where things could radically change for the better because we're seeing a systemic fragility on a global level, and which means that there's possibility to rebuild the infrastructure of civilization in a better way. And so adaptability, reinforcing our own adaptability within our own nervous system in our own life with these exercises, I personally believe that just helps turn the tides of the positivity for the whole world, really, and just to help you navigate all of the changes in your own mindset by adapting physically too.
Yeah. That's how we evolve. That's how we've been evolving, right? So does anybody else have any other questions? I think I just saw a comment. If mindfulness is not available, the host system doesn't work well. Yes. And in other words, if you're stuck in that hijack position, there's no receptivity, right? There's no space for adaptability or receiving other inputs, I think, in some ways. At least that's the way I think about it. And I think that's all for the questions. I don't know if anybody else has stuff or if you have anything else, Lindsay. This was like super great reminder, even for the things that we know, it's really helpful to bring it back to, oh yeah, there's that thing that I could, do additionally, or that I forgot about, or, how that.
Yeah, this is all really basic, and if you're more advanced, it might seem like beginner or whatever, but I believe that creating regularity around our schedule right now is just so crucial, and just to be reminded in that way. And yeah, I'm happy to see all these faces and names, and so grateful to just be able to share. Thank you, Stephanie, for having me.
Thank you, Lindsay. And thank you for everybody who came. And I was just thinking about, how things are just continuing to evolve, and finding that it's useful to have these touch points. So I'm going to do what I can to, even if it's not a formal topic, just be available for Q&A, maybe, even once a week if I can do that. Because I know information changes, or you need to reinforce an idea, or there's questions, as more and more stuff emerges about this. The couple other things that I want to just say, because I've had the questions like throughout the week, staying put is working here better than other parts of the country. So keep up the efforts. It's worth it. And, so many of you are doing such a great job, at home and with your families and with yourselves. And hopefully this will give you just, some more tools and some more reminders of, how you can use this time right now. And I look forward to seeing everybody again soon. So thank you, Lindsay. And if you're looking for Lindsay, you'll see, go to our website, go to our Facebook page, you can find her information there. And if it does sound like something where you would want some personalization around practice, that might work for you. I'm pretty sure that, Lindsay, you work with people one-on-one too. And that's always something you can inquire about also. Okay, thank you, everyone. Take care. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, look at all the comments. Lots of thank yous and blessings.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Liz.
Okay. Take good care. All right.
Bye. Bye, everyone. All right.